Okay. We just check. Okay. We are live. Everything is working. So, welcome everyone to our recap and discussion of yesterday's Sunday service. I am here with Michaela, Rivati, and Laurentiu. And I think we've all we watched the service and taken our notes, and what we aim to do with this is just kind of recap what Jeff and Shalia said in the service, and other stuff that came up in the service other than Jeff and Shalia's sermon, and just go deeper into that and integrate it more. And Rivati brought this really amazing point up to like how the Ten Commandments, which is something that Jeff and Shia went into in depth, apply to our own lives, and just like have a beautiful and rich discussion about that. And with that being said, I do want to give this over to Laurentiu first, because you took over notes regarding the first part of yesterday's service. So let's just start chronologically and see. Let's just start there.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. So, yeah, really like the service starts with the meditation of Revati that we actually have it here, and it's so beautiful how in the meditation we just get more grounded, more peaceful, and really like. I mean, at least for me, I felt more nurtured about that, and really helped me to be present for the rest of the service. So it's really beautiful how that really took us into that grounding. So thank you, Revati, here.
Thank you for
uh,
that.
you're welcome. And going forward, I really enjoy like Brianna's card reading, that like each card really brought a point that I really like, and to go a bit into that. It's uh, first card. It was today belongs to love. Let me not far. So basically, just allow today, meaning every day, every moment present with you, to just stay in love and not give any moment to fear, to illusion. And it's perfect with what comes after. And I invite someone here to just say how it presents in what Jeff and Sheila said about this. Okay.
Yeah, I would love to. They talked about that in the, I think, which commandment, when they talk about the Lord's Day, the second commandment, and how every moment is really the Lord's Day. That's like the updated version, because back when the Ten Commandments were first given. What was that?
Oh, that's the third commandment.
The third one?
It's the third one, which remember to keep holy the Lord's Day. And then
Right.
Jeff was
Yes,
saying
the
how
third
like
one.
the updated the Lord's Day is just like the present moment, because you're meant to be present with God at all times, not just like one day of the week. But I feel like once we get into the Ten Commandments more in depth later on, I feel like we can go more in depth into how exactly that applies, because they said more in regards to this commandment. But
yeah, it was just a really cool foreshadowing. I thought like the cards are perfect. Every single card she pulled. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted to bring up here, that how perfect we were introduced into the sermon that Jeff and Shia gave forward. And that's really seen in each person that has had a part in this. So I really like as well. I would say the other two cards as well, because it's just really good. The second card was like, in my defenseless, my safety lies. That was again like really beautiful in seeing that we don't have to resist love. We don't need any defenses, because there's only love. Only God is real. This is what Unionism teach, that only love is real. Therefore, you don't need any defenses towards anything, because when you just realize that you don't need any defense, when you're vulnerable with God, you just realize that only love is real, so nothing else can affect you. And it's really beautiful to be in that moment, because you're not just defending. When you think you're defending yourself, you're actually defending from love as well, because you're not letting your thinking something is there, but as you release that, more can come in. Yeah. Does any of you have
I
any
love
part
that.
about it? Oh.
I do actually have, I remember I was watching that, because Lisi shortly after that mentioned our new harmonious unions and how all these people thought that twin flame was someone else. And when that Brianna put that card and, like in your defenselessness, your safety lies, it just like really brought me deeper into, like just realizing that it's safe to let go of any attachments and that I can only receive love if I'm defenseless. And every time you like defend yourself, you're defending yourself again, as you said, like you keep pushing love away and not allowing God to provide you your the truth, and you're not letting that in. And actually completely opening up and completely opening to God is where your safety lies. Yeah, that's what came up for me with that card.
Yeah. And one more thing for me, it was when Shalia said, like, when you make a mistake, it was the honesty commandment. Like when you make a mistake, instead of hiding it or trying to cover it up, just like come clean, like just be honest and say, this is like, I did this and I choose to love myself here. Like you might as well just be honest because, that's God is the author of all truth is what they said. So there's no need to like hide or cover up anything because God sees everything. So it's safe just to like, just always commit to honesty and know that you don't have to protect yourself because like only love is real and God's not going to like hurt you. Like, you won't get hurt by just being honest.
Yeah, because only love is real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and even like they mention in the 7th commandment when thou shalt not steal. She was also talking about like how attack isn't real, so you don't need to really defend. So it kind of goes hand in hand with that one when she talks about that you get all of your good from God directly and you don't need to look at the other person's good to receive your good. So
Yeah.
Perfect. It's amazing how everything just falls in place and how everything is so connected. So yeah, the third card was let me not see myself as limited. Really not letting yourself see yourself as illusion, as something that you cannot ever achieve, because every desire that you have is from God, and God wants you to have everything for you, so you're not limited to anything. So in this, it's really important that you not limit yourself to anything that God desires for you, but be clear on what God desires for you. Because if you have in your heart something else than love, you have maybe fear or anything like that, maybe you won't see clear what you actually want. And that may be different than what we're speaking here, because the limitation is really about the illusion, having the illusion, because the illusion doesn't exist. Therefore, safe to drop that off and really be clear on where does that come from, if it comes from love or not, if it comes from peace or not.
Yeah, and that's like the process of purification is like identifying that you're actually divine within and that you have the power to choose to purify your consciousness and not give power away to the illusion, which is the first card, it talks about just being with love in each moment and not giving power to the illusions. And yeah.
something that came up like even sorry something that came up like when Lorenzo was talking about the meditation was because it's about self purification. When I started out the meditation, like to gaze in your eyebrow center. So like, even in the Bhagavad Gita, like they've mentioned, like Krishna mentions that the cosmic light which exists in the eyebrow center, that itself is God. So when you gaze in that point, it's like you're really receiving all of God. And the it's like cosmic fire. So there's also this thing in Hinduism where it's called a yajna. So a yajna is the holy fire that they burn, and you pour ghee, which is clarified butter, and it's like they use that fire during marriages. So it's like a purification process. like the ritual itself is a purification process, but it kind of like all of this like the action ties in with the internal purification. So like even if like ritualistically um, you're taking the action, but like your inner purifications also happening like when you know go through like this process.
Oh, I
So
love
it's
that.
nice.
Oh, that's super cool. That's like what Jeff and Shalia said, that as you purify yourself, you start to see God in everything, not just your internal process, but like your external world too. And knowing there's like God's everywhere, and it's your relationship with God is everywhere.
That kind of reminded me of, you know, how like in Christianity we have this like period before Easter where we like fast, or like generally, you know, there's these like traditions around like fasting, which is, you know, at the core has the same intention of like, you know, purifying your body and your mind, and like, you know, like allowing God to come in. Obviously, I know like in modern times I kind of like I grew up Christian and all of that, but like the way I learned it, it kind of lost its like meaning. It didn't originally had in Christianity. I don't know, you know, if people still practice it that way, but that was at least the original meaning for that. And didn't Jesus do that? You know, like Jesus went into the desert for 40 days and fasted, and that's like when he got tempted. This entire story about getting tempted by the devil. You know, kind of like ego coming up and you having to like say no and still devote yourself deeper to God and of everything. Let me see, what else did I have? You know, I guess like in relation to that, something that Shalia talked about was very, very illuminating for me is, you know, when she said how people always say like, I'm following my heart. And I've been experiencing that lately too, where I'm like, you know, really getting clear on when I say I'm following my heart, what am I really following? Because, you know, if it, as Shalia said, like, you know, if you, what is in your heart is what you're cultivating and it's what you're following. So if you're cultivating fear and hatred and doubt, that's what you're ultimately following. So it's not about just saying I'm following whatever's in my heart, but getting really clear what is in my heart, what am I really following there. And finding there like with love and choosing to only follow the love in your heart. And that's like where, you know, like we're purifying ourselves by letting all of the rest go, and we start to really see God. But that's, yeah, definitely something, you know, I noticed like you have to be really aware of what is in your heart, because you can't just like say I'm following my heart and follow whatever is there. And that's like something, you know, like just like this perspective, I think that I didn't have so much clarity on before Shalia mentioned it, and I had a lot of confusion around like, what this is in my heart, so I feel like following this, and God put it there for a reason. And I didn't quite have this awareness of being really like, you know, selective of what I'm really following in my heart.
Yeah, I really enjoy this as well, because it really brought me a lot of clarity to see that, okay, even if someone says this is what it is in my heart, it doesn't mean that that's actually what they really desire there. And that's really powerful, because not seeing this, it's like, oh, I just follow what's in my heart, but maybe you just have a lot of sadness there, maybe there's a lot of fear, and you just, out of fear, you just feel good about something, so you actually don't, it's not actually love there. It's something that feels similar, but actually is not similar at all. It may feel like, oh, I have to do this, it feels good to do it now, but actually maybe it's anxiety. You feel excited, therefore you feel just anxious about doing that, and if you don't do that, you won't feel good. So you have to really be clear here, what is truly there. Do it's something that you just, if you don't do it, you'll feel like bad forever, because then that's an illusion directly, because that's just going to put you in the like out of being dependent of doing that, so you can feel good instead of just feeling good, and that's why you do something. That's really something to get clear. Do you feel good about doing that, And do you feel already good within yourself? Because if you already feel good within yourself, you'll feel good doing whatever is there, if you feel that. But if you just like, you don't feel good now and you just do something to make you feel good, that won't work. Don't try that. So it's safe to get
Yeah.
clear on that.
Yeah, it's like and that's why it's so important to have that process of purification. And I feel like the 10 Commandments being updated in this sermon was really helpful, because Jeff and Shalia do teach you how to purify yourself. And then also having like these 10 commandments of like what accrues karma, and like what like the like, you know, like a foundation, like an outline. And I really loved how Shalia said, when you're purifying yourself, you tend to feel relief and you tend to go into upheaval. And so that's like really cool. Like they guide you back to their work, obviously, like love yourself, heal, and you know, you can feel when that's happening. And like that's the process of getting clear, like you were saying, Laurentiu. It just is like, if something feels bad, then you just heal that and you purify your thoughts and your consciousness. And then as you do that and you feel relief and you feel peace, and then God can give you the clarity. And I think it's really awesome to have like this, like the whole path is laid out and all that we have to do is just walk it. And it's really awesome.
In relation to that, what I really said, I think Shalia said that, like organizational religion is not something that you have to transcend, but it's something that is assisting you in developing your relationship with God. And that's really it, because going back to that, like following your heart. If you've never had a relationship with God before, and you've never really experienced what it's like to like learn what God's will is and what God's will is for you, and what it can be purified in your mind, you don't know what that is. So how do you know in which direction to go and what to follow? And that's why being in the Unionist church and in our community is like so helpful, because you have all these people around you who are who God can come through and help you. And that's something else that Shalia mentioned, how it's important to develop an ear for God everywhere and listen to God through everyone and everything around you, and not limit your relationship to God just to what is inside of you. Because if you're not completely purified yet and completely clear yet, how can you like you need a sense, and you need to be open to receive and learn. And that's exactly what Jeff and Shalia and the Unionist Church provide, which is something very important, because we can't do it on our own, and we're not meant to.
Yeah. And they also say that Unionism does not contradict with any other religion, because Unionism teaches you how to know God perfectly. And like every religion has its own set of rules, but sometimes they seem to contradict themselves, or some things aren't clear. But Unionism, instead of just being another religion, it like unifies all of the religions, because all of the religions are just teaching love. And I love that Unionism can just kind of like clear up all of these like misunderstandings or things that aren't clear, just how they did with the 10 Commandments, how it really just refines each religion, and it makes each religion, I think, more beautiful. And I'm proud to be a Unionist, because it's really awesome. And it's I just like each service, I just love more and more, like they get better and better.
Absolutely. So let's should we jump into the 10 Commandments? I kind of
before that, just want to say that I like as well, the next piece was Lizzie's piece. That she introduced us to Jeff and Shalia even more into everything that they were going to say. So really brought more clarity, some updates in the community with the harmonious unions. And I really enjoyed that she really provided more clarity into getting into that. So really everyone before Jeff and Shalia speaking helped to create a foundation for you and for us to understand fully what Jeff and Shane want to share with us. It's safe to have that foundation, that transition from where you are with the meditation, the card reading, then with the sermon from Lisi, and then them. So you can fully connect yourself to Jeff and Shalia through everyone that came in front there. And I really enjoy this because it's more like, it's not directly Jeff and Shalia. It's first you connect with the people with the students of Jeff and Shelia, and then you connect with them. And because of that, you're able to relate to them, and you're able to understand much better and much easier. And you're more open to understand what Jeff and Shelia actually want to say and what they're actually saying.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just wanted to comment, like Lacey looked so peaceful, like the way she just looked, like the way she's just radiating peace. And I think like the blue background is really nice. I just remember like it really stood out to me, like how peaceful Lucy looked, and she just invited you into peace, and it was perfect.
Okay, well then, let's jump into the first of the 10 Commandments. And the first one is, I am the Lord thy God. Thou shalt have no false gods. And if I remember, actually, I don't have any more notes to this because I think Jeff and Shelia were pretty, they explained that really quickly. That it just like means, there's one God, and just be aware there's like only one God. It kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, and not to use God or God's power to fuel ego or separation. That one was all about like respecting God and honoring God and not being irreverent to God, and
The second
like respecting
one,
God's power.
Oh, that was the second one I think you're talking about, Michaela.
Oh, maybe I have these. I didn't number them correctly.
Yeah, that was the second one that you mentioned.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But all good. One thing that when I heard this and they were talking about it, that I'm not even sure like they mentioned, is like what came up for me was like, do not make anything else your God. Be that, like something like external material, or even like, let's say like your twin flame or another person or anything outside of you. Because that's like something we can do. It's like the meaning of idolatry. It's like seeing something else as your source and making that into God, which like never works, because in truth nothing is outside of us, and everything is like God. But if you don't see that, then like you're looking at it in a wrong way, and you're missing the whole point and the meaning of everything that is and of life.
Yeah, but here really inviting you to see in this way, and it's okay which way you choose to see. Know that it's just like this is just an invitation to see from this point, to experience yourself this way. And it's not about who's right or wrong here. It's really about just getting clear within yourself. And as Denisa said, really try this out, and you won't regret it, because it's really like the way that really, at least for us, it really brings us closer to God in the best way possible.
Yeah, it really it's kind of like really saying that, like speaking to you, like what you actually really desire is only God, and only the one, the one God that you feel in your heart and you are one with. That's what you actually want. So why would you choose anything else? Should we move on to the second? Anyone else have something to say to this? Second one, okay. So the second one is, thou shalt not take the name of thy God in vain. And this is definitely a very interesting one. And I'm very happy that Jeff and Shelia spoke about this, because I remember I say like, oh my God, a lot. And my mom would always be like, don't say that, you're taking God's name in vain. And just as Shelia shared during the Sunday, it's like, but it doesn't feel like I'm doing that, because I'm not like, I don't know, it just felt like right to say that. I was always like very unsure about like, am I doing something wrong here, or is it like what's going on? And I really loved how Shelia like explained that it's like not like, it's about not using God's name in a blasphemous way, and not using him to feed you like ego goals.
And I liked how they talked about how that's how a lot of holy wars start, is one side thinks that they're right in God's name, and the other side thinks that they're right in God's name, and they kill each other in God's name. But that's not what God asks. It's not about using God's name for anything not loving.
Mhm. And this leads into the purification,
Yeah.
because if you just go and just say, "Oh, this is what God is," and the other side is saying, "No, this is what God is," and then you go to the contradictory. Like with God, you never go into that space because God doesn't contradict itself. And by purifying yourself, you will see the one truth of God. Therefore, no war should be there. No war should be within yourself.
Right. When you're clear in your heart with God. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Or is it
happens a
something?
lot.
You go first with that.
Yeah, no, just that like it happens a lot in India where like a lot of holy wars, so it's like the Muslims and the Hindus and like this thing like happening. And everyone's just saying that my God is right, but there's just like one God anyways. Yeah. Hmm. And they kind of like in pursuit of the external war, they kind of forget the inner relationship with God they're supposed to be having, which kind of like it completely contradicts the purpose of why they're even having the war. Like it doesn't even. It's just separation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're like really using God's name and God's power to justify, like, like very separation-based actions. And that's what it really means to take God's name in vain.
Yeah. Or like using God's name to control instead of love and surrender.
And I loved what Jess said at the end, that it's about how you treat God in relationship to God. Which, to be quite honest, I think a part of me is not completely getting that yet.
So, how is God in relationship with God? How are you treating that way? It's always a relationship between God and God. Even now, if we want to say about our life, it's only God speaking with God through us. So it's only God having a relationship with God here. And it's just us allowing that relationship with God. Therefore, what we have, like what's the best thing for us to do is just surrender to that God and allow God to come through us and have relationship with the God in others, meaning the God within me, having a relationship with the God within you all, because actually it's the same God. But that's why God created us in the first place, to have this relationship, to enjoy this with us. But He can't control us. He just wants to love us. And by us just desiring to have a relationship with God through God's perspective, that's just allowing God through us to have a relationship with God through everything around us. Makes more sense?
I think it does, yes. It does. Let me just to not take God's name in vain, to not abuse Him. Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Or Rivati, we're going to say something?
Yeah, no, just like I thought of our twin flame. So when you think about like having a relationship, your union with your twin, it's like you can't say I have, oh look how sacred my relationship with my twin is, and then like internally saying, oh he's being such a like why is he being that, and then, like having those feelings towards your twin, like that is you treating your twin poorly in the relationship. So it's like, how do you treat God Himself in that relationship with God? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that.
yeah, then let's move on to the third one, shall we?
Yeah.
Everyone ready? Okay. So the third one is remember to keep holy the Lord's Day. And that's what we mentioned earlier today, earlier in this discussion, is how to that like just like upgraded it to today, which like the Lord's Day is just simply the present moment, because as we all know, time is not real, and we are created to be present with God in every moment. But I still love how Shelia like what Shelia added to this, that she was saying how, especially when you start building a relationship with God and you kind of need to that, it's like a really good play. It's still a wonderful thing to just start with one day and devote time to God, and that one day I think just like start with like these small steps and build from there. Yeah.
Yeah, like back in the time of Moses, that's where they really had to start, is like with one day dedicated to the Lord. And then she said it's a good place to start because you start to realize that you want that feeling of like worship and devotion to God in every moment. And so like it's really good to start with just a day if that's what you have to do. And then it expands as you purify yourself to each moment with God.
Absolutely. And something interesting that I really love that he talked about this in relation to this is they were mentioning how during Jesus' time, like some people would commit sins, so basically wrong God, or like not honor God, and then like try to make up by that by like following all these like religious rituals and praying and kind of feeling like they can buy their way into heaven, which like never works, because you can't like wrong sin and then like just be like, oh, okay, but if I pray, I'm just gonna equal that out somehow, because
Right.
like you have karma. You can't like if you're wrong and sin, you just build karma, and that's like following these like rituals and doing it out of like in like this ritualized way, and not because your heart is really in it and you really love God. That's just like kind of like faking your devotion.
Yeah, like Jesus said, you have to love and you have to forgive, is when Shalia paraphrased that. I thought that was really nice. It's the only way.
Yeah. It's really healing the upsets that you have, and that will bring the peace within you. And in that moment, of course, you'll just act accordingly to everyone around you, and you won't do that thing again, and you're actually improving to what you're doing. And it's really safe, and it's really okay to take step by step from wherever you are to purify yourself.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Good. That's it.
Yeah, beautiful. Accept where you are and just go from there. I love that. So moving on to the next one. The fourth commandment is honor thy father and thy mother. Anyone have anything that came up for them in regards to this commandment?
Well, I liked how they said like choosing to honor your relationships, like your family, and how I like that Shalia said something about how instead of carrying on this like family ancestral tradition of abuse, you can choose to love your family, and you can choose to honor your parents and love and honor them if they love and honor when they love and honor you, but you don't have to wait on them. Like you can choose just to love and honor your family, but that doesn't mean like stay in an abusive relationship. But it's just about enjoying the relationships in your life and enjoying your family. And then, but even deeper than that, on a spiritual perspective, to honor Mother and Father God, because they're the ones who are with you for eternity. And yeah, I just really liked that it was about enjoying your relationships and really loving the people in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. Vivati or Avensi? if you
No,
have.
for me, it's just like, especially here, people, we are taught to treat our parents as God, and that's a very typical thing that happens here, and that's kind of when you start making them your God, like the first commandment. So he's like, don't not to have any false gods. That's what comes up. It's like most of the Indians, like, they kind of face this contradiction where um, you have this reverence towards your parents, but you're so blinded by that reverence that you don't get to see that the moments where they actually abuse you. So like, if even if you're like getting abused by the parent, they'd be like blind to it, and they're like, oh no, I still respect and I love my parents and they love me too. But that's like a very tricky thing that happens. So that, like, this like Jeff and Sheila even mentioning that, like, is so healing. Otherwise you wouldn't like recognize that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I want to say something about this, about
Thank
Mm.
yes, thank you, Revati, for that. And I want to say, in what you said there, like, it really makes me like think about my own family and something that my twin flame Alexandra showed me. Because for me, for a long period of time, I was like, oh my God, I still like, love my parents. Everything is so good. Everything is perfect, and I still like communication with them and things like this. But she always like, I don't feel good to go to your parents. I don't feel good to stay so much around you. You know, like some part of your family. It's like, why? What's the problem? And she was saying, don't you see what what they're doing? How abusive and how much abuse you had when you were a child. It's like, no. And that's the thing that you're saying, Ravati, because I wasn't seeing the abuse. I was so used with the abuse that I thought that was love. So it was really nice having my twin flame show me that, but it was still like me. I still had to be a little bit like, was that abuse? I still don't feel like that. And she's like saying like, you're just so numb to it. So I was just not feeling it truly, but actually what happened, there was a lot. So I still had to go there and really bring that purification, love myself there, because sometimes you just don't realize, you just think that that's normal, that's okay, because you see everyone around you, it's the same thing, the same story. Because for me, like, childs were treated the same, like the same kind of abuse around, and it was like, oh, everyone meet here and we just speak about this is something normal. But it's not it's not really pleasant actually to speak about all the things that you are abused about, like. But this was something that, because of this thing, like, because, as you said, Rivati, like, we made our parents, our biological parents, God. We were just, okay, they're God, so they can do whatever they want with us, and that's okay. That's perfect. That's how it is. That's normal. But that's not how it is.
Yeah, and you do love your parents by putting up a boundary to them if they're abusive. So it's not like you have to, like, that commandment does not say like tolerate abuse, because the most loving thing you can do for someone who's like that is to put up a boundary. And I think Shalia actually said that, and as now that I'm remembering, she said, like, the way that you can love them the most is by putting up a boundary so that they can heal themselves. And it doesn't mean that you stop loving them or like you stop having compassion, because they're still children of God. And yeah, and you're honoring yourself and respecting yourself and loving yourself. And then you just naturally love them by doing that, because we're all one.
Also, like, what this is kind of reminding me of is something we spoke about earlier. Thing in a way, like that whole theme around, like, I'm just following my heart. Because, for you, Lawrence, you're having communication with your parents did feel good, and you thought you're doing the right thing, and that's love there. And you only received like the truth through Alexandra because you were open to hear God, and were open to purify yourself and really look into your heart and see what you're like really following here, and where you're actually numbed out, and not feeling what is really going on.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's the power of like having support and your twin flame there to help you out. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We are at, I kind of feel complete with this, so let's just, I just move on. Number 5 is thou shalt not kill. And I thought this was really interesting because Shalia mentioned how there's a subtle but very clear differentiation between to murder someone and to kill someone. And like going into that, like to kill someone when they're like attacking you and you have to defend your life is like an okay thing to do because you have to honor your own life and life itself. And just letting, like just having someone attack you and allowing them to just like kill you without defending yourself, that would be like insane. That would be like you would like not honoring your own life. And in cases like that, that's not seen as murder, but that is just of you honoring life, your life and life itself. So I thought, it was just like very healing to realize that like no one's asking, I guess just like this like concept of like differentiating again between murder and killing. And then like, I was just like thinking that like that person who's trying to like kill someone else, they're like actually choosing to extinguish life, to kill. And they're actually doing that to themselves. So if they're getting killed in return, that was actually their choice in the first place.
Yeah. And exactly like that's what I wanted to say as well about this is that um, when someone already like wants to kill someone else, they already kill themselves within. They just like already committed that murder within themselves. Like as you said, Revati, before, if you stay with your twin flame and you then start thinking bad stuff about them, it's still disrespecting. So it all starts from within. Like even with the murder, if it is about like okay, murdering someone else, they are already doing that to themselves, and it's safe to see here that it's safe to purify yourself if you have any thoughts like that and not continue that thinking that it's okay, that it's normal. It's not.
Right. And that's what they said. Oh, you go ahead.
No, it's just like what he said, like that reminded me of Paramahansa Yogananda when in the autobiography, like he mentions this narration like with his guru, and his guru tells him like, go ahead, like kill the mosquito because you've already killed the mosquito in your mind. So you've like already committed the murder. So what, it doesn't even make sense. Like it doesn't like have any weight to the action because in your mind you've already done the action. You know, so you kind of that remind me of that.
Yeah. And it's like they talked about how when you don't honor life, and it can just be in your own thoughts, like it doesn't, like you're saying, and that's what like you experience karma from that, and you never like stop existing. Like you can't actually kill someone or yourself, and so you won't stop existing, and so you do have to like face your karma for that. So yeah, like it's just about honoring life completely and fully, like your own life and the life of others.
So, okay, moving on to the next one, because we only have 15 minutes left and we still have 5 commandments. So the next one is, thou shalt not commit adultery. So speaking very clearly about, the way Julia put it, immoral sexual adultery and leaking your energy. And, like we all know, like your sexual energy is meant for one in your twin flame. And your sexuality is something very sacred, and you can like commit adultery, kind of what you talked about right now, Revati, that it's not even about like the actions you do, but it's even, like you can commit adultery by what you're thinking and what is going on in your mind and how you're treating your sexual energy and whether you're respecting it or just throwing it around basically, and disrespecting yourself in that place really. And betraying your union, as Shalia said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked how like Jeff mentions that you just respect the sexual energy itself, because like the moment he said that sentence, I was like, I realized it in a different way. Like for the first time, I was like, oh my God, like that's what he meant. Like the fact that that exists, that it's inside you, like it exists inside you, that that's like respecting that, just respecting that it exists inside you um, is respecting
Yeah.
that energy.
He defined energy as a natural result of a state of consciousness, which I thought was really cool. And just knowing like it is an energy that you respect. It's not just like a concept or something, like it's a real energy that you have a relationship with.
Also, he said how energy is an aspect of consciousness, which I thought is so amazing. It's just like really, made me see this in a new light. And how like, yeah, sexuality is an energy, so sexuality is an aspect of consciousness.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I'm just like right now.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Okay, next one is thou shalt not steal. And I really liked how when they were talking about this, how they said that when you take something from someone else, it's not even yours. You can't even do that because you have to create your own reality. You can't. It's literally you can't steal someone else's reality.
Yeah. Yeah, when you try and take something and steal, like you're actually just denying that for yourself. And so, yeah, you just have to go to God, is what they were saying. Like you go to God, your inheritance comes from God, not from anywhere else.
Yeah, because here it's really that if you haven't worked for it, if you haven't learned your lessons about it, if you haven't purified for that, you can have that, but just only for a moment until it's just taken away again. Who knows? Like let's say a car, you just steal a car of someone else, and then like the car breaks, you have to repair it. Then I don't know, maybe you just go through the limit and then the police stops you, and like all you can attract all this kind of stuff towards yourself when you just do something like this. I'm just giving an example between many other examples that it can be here, but it's when you grow yourself into having that, you're not going to attract all those things towards you because there's no need for that. That's yours. You already understood the lesson. You don't need that anymore. So it's really about you learning your own lessons, going through your own process. And you're going to be more satisfied with that because as Jeff and Shea teach, it's about like you keep that vibration that you cultivated through purifying yourself always, everywhere you go. So you can be in a country, going to a different country, you will just have the same things there. You'll manifest them very quickly because you are already there vibrationally. And even if you go in the next life, that's why like your good is always with God, because the relationship that you go with God, you really like go with it wherever you go in each lifetime you go. So.
That brings up Jeff and Julia's video about eternal change. How like when you heal your abscess and purify yourself, every change you have in your life and everything, or the good in your life, is coming from because you're at that level of consciousness, and you get to keep that for all of eternity. But if you take it from someone else and it's actually not in your vibration to have that because it's just simply not yours, you can't keep that, and it's going to fade away probably quicker than like sooner than later. And it's not worth doing that because ultimately you're just taking from yourself. So next one, don't bear false witness against thy neighbor. So basically, don't lie, be honest. And I love how Shadia said that a lie condemns you. So don't choose that and choose to free yourself.
Yeah, and just knowing you're safe to tell the truth. Like in my defenseless list, my safety lies. Just like it feels much better to just set yourself free and tell the truth. Be honest. And you really do set yourself free.
Yeah. Like I liked how she said you can't really hide from God. Like literally any moment. Um, hmm.
Totally, absolutely. God always knows. And to be like, if we're all honest with ourselves, lying always feels so bad. It's like you're really condemning yourself because you just like feel so bad. Like no one even has to do anything. You've already done it to yourself.
And they said your karma will always come, so you might as well just come clean about it right away.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's complete. So next one, number 9 is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. And this kind of goes back to the one around like thou should not steal. And Jeff mentioned how like like thy neighbor's wife means kind of like just his good. How you like you shouldn't be jealous of what other people have and try to take it from them, but like let it inspire you and know that your good is coming from God and is with you and you can have it too. And you don't need to take it from someone else or be jealous.
Yep.
I like the part when Jeff's like, you just wanting what's your neighbor's is that energy of stealing, like just that wanting of what's theirs. Yeah, like, and they're like, even even a thought, how separation came about between twin flames was from a thought of thinking that you can get something from the outside. So like even once thinking that someone else's twin flame is better than my twin flame, it's like, oh, like yeah,
because that's just
So
dishonoring
that-
like your own good, like your own God.
And I feel to give an example that came to mind when as we spoke about this. It reminded me like a while ago, I don't know, a year or two ago, when I went to see my brother, and my brother has a very nice laptop, and I was like, oh my god, that's such a nice laptop. And I was having these ideas, oh, maybe he would give it to me because he's not using it. So I was having these thoughts, but then I had to really surrender that, because it's like not really desiring that, because what was there was the energy of that laptop that was very powerful for video games, as I love video games and Alexandra loves. Alexandra didn't have the laptop to play with me. We really wanted the laptop for me and Alexandra, for Alexandra to have to play with me as I have a computer. But actually then, as we kept going, uh, after some time, we bought a laptop for Alexandra, but it was totally different how it was looking. And to be honest, after we got this one, we were like, I was thinking, did I even thought about that one? That one wasn't even close to what we desired. It was just, no, it wasn't for us. Meaning that even if it was something that I desired, the specification of it, it wasn't what we wanted. What we wanted was something totally different, because it's what God wanted for us. And that laptop is so much more enjoyable for us, is so much more better for us than the other thing that at the beginning I thought I wanted, that I don't want it. But I had to grow into that. We had to grow into actually be able to have that laptop, but it was much more like much more better than the thing that I thought first, that my brother had. It doesn't even compare with that.
Amen. Yeah, your good is your good and it's perfect for you. And someone else's good is for them. And I like they said the appropriate response is to be happy for your brothers and sisters and to bless their good.
You know what is coming for me here again, kind of going back again to that, like following your heart. Because again, like Wednesday for you, like you were like, oh, I think I want this like laptop and this is like good for me and all of that. But God knew better what you really want. And you know what? I feel like a lot of people right now, like me included in our community, are going through right now. It's like releasing, like with like all the new harmonious unions. Like a lot of people found out they have a false twin flame, and like letting go of that person. Like what I realized is really like I thought this is like it for me, and I had to work through all of these feelings of like I feel like God is taking my desire away from me, and I thought it's like like this person I thought it's satisfying me completely, and the more I hear, the more I realize how they like weren't, and how they were really taking and really abusing me the entire time, kind of what you talked about earlier, Laurentiu, and how God has something so much better for me, and he knows better what I desire than I do myself sometimes. And that's like,
Always.
Always, yeah, always. Sorry, I said sometimes. He always knows better. Like sometimes I don't know what I want, so I'm like kind of like, okay, God, like tell me what I want. I trust you completely. And even though in the first it might be upsetting me and be like, but this is not what I want. Like, God, like why? Like it doesn't make sense. If you heal and purify yourself, and that's really what it is. It's letting go of that and purifying yourself to be one with God and like receive, be one with God's will. Then you will realize that God you actually want exactly what God wants for you. There's no way you can want something separate from what God wants for you. This just made me passionate. I don't know. I'm just like, you want what God wants for you. Just trust it.
It's really about being humble and like knowing like you do not know better than God. You never will know better than God. And even if you don't like see what God's showing you, that's when you purify. You do your inner work and surrender.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Amen.
Yeah.
So, okay, we still have 2 minutes. Just quickly, the last of the 10 commandments is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. And I feel like, we've kind of talked about this because it goes back to like, they're not stealing and not coveting thy neighbor's wife. So going to God for your good. And, I'm kind of just like doing this like fast speed right now because I do want to talk about the 2 commandments that Jeff and Shadia created for the Church of Union. And the first one is love God first and always put God first and make him the central point of your attention. And the second one is love thyself. And that is so easy. Just like, I love how like, just like so simple and easy it is. And there's this beautiful quote, that says like, all the great things are easy or simple, or the great things are simple. I think that's the one.
Yeah. And what's really awesome about those is that like, especially Catholicism, like it's there's so much guilt and like self-punishment and but I love that for Unionism, it really just heals that. Like you have to love yourself where you're experiencing guilt or punishment or like karma or whatever's going on. Like you don't punish yourself for that. You love yourself and you love God, and they're one and the same to do those things. So I found that really healing and just really relieving and really beautiful.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, like how like the 10 commandments come together in those 2 commandments of Unionism. It's kind of like the same thing anyway.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. I just, at the end of the service, I felt so healed and just like, it just felt so good. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, it's just like, we have the 2 founding pillars of our church: love yourself and put God first, and everything else is just built on top of that.
Yes.
And like that's the foundation of everything, of life, of your relationship with God, your relationship with your twin flame. Put God first and love yourself.
Amen. Yay.
Amen.
I'm proud to be a Unionist.
Yes. Me too.
Yep.
Yeah. Amen. And that does feel like a very beautiful, perfect conclusion to our discussion today. So thank you everyone so much for joining us and listening in, and we will all see you next week. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.